Do you find yourself comparing yourself to other people on social media? I think this is a question that many of us are potentially aware of within ourselves, that we do actually do that. That is kind of how social media, Instagram, Facebook is set up to kind of be in tune to how other people are living their lives, what they're doing, what they're doing that's better than us, or whatever it might be, where we find ourselves comparing and kind of subconsciously being a little bit in competition with them, or subconsciously feeling like we're inferior, or feeling like we're less than, or feeling like we don't have the same thing that they have, or we find ourselves judging others. There are all these different subconscious mechanisms that happen on social media that we're not really aware of happening, that we have to become more aware of, especially when it comes to the question of how do we motivate ourselves without needing to find ourselves comparing ourselves to others. The thing is, one thing I've noticed from my own journey with my own self, and also from training countless hundreds of people in strength training at a gym as a personal trainer, is that we all have this mechanism within ourselves, our ego, if you will, that will be constantly comparing ourselves to others. Where do I match up compared to someone else? And are they doing better? Where am I doing worse? Where are they doing worse? Where am I doing better? It's just kind of like this constant, where are we on the hierarchy or in status compared to others? And this is a very human thing. It comes from evolution, in the sense that we had to survive and we had to know where people were in the social group in order to know who was in, who was out, who was dangerous, who was not, who was able to bring the most food, who was the leader, who was not. We needed that awareness of other people. However, we don't really need that as much anymore. And that mechanism has kind of been hijacked a little bit by social media, as I'm sure that you've realized too. And this can be very insidious in the sense that we're not even realizing that we're doing it. So again, coming back to the question of how do we actually motivate ourselves and be inspired by ourselves, essentially, without needing to compare ourselves to other people. The first thing I want to present to you is understanding that there is a healthy aspect of that, and then there's an unhealthy aspect of comparison. The healthy aspect of comparison is to be inspired by others, is to see what other people are doing and having the awareness and consciousness that, oh my gosh, that could be possible for me too. It could be possible for me to create a business that is deeply in alignment with who I am. It could be possible for me to create health and start a strength training program where I feel really at home in my body and I feel proud of my body. It's possible for me because I see other people are doing it, right? The unhealthy aspect of it is when we start seeing what other people are doing, but then we're making it mean something about us. If they're doing it, that means that I can't, or they can't, or they're doing it and I don't have the same capacity to do that, or they're doing it, that means that I can't. You get what I'm saying there. There is the unhealthy aspect of it, and where we're also maybe okay, they're doing it and I'm going to do it way better than them. I'm going to do it way better and more, so that I get more from it, or I get more validation, or whatever. And these are shadowy things that are going on beneath the surface. And they're not there to be shamed or to be judged or anything like that. They're to be seen and understood and been okay, there's a shadow aspect of me that kind of wants other people to, or wants me to do better than other people. Totally fine. That's normal. However, we don't need it to go into these kind of more extreme sides and extreme where ego inflation, deflation type of things that will cause us to feel like we're superior to others or inferior to them, and then potentially be affecting our nervous system responses, which our nervous system is the one that mobilizes us to do or don't do different things. If we're noticing someone doing something on social media and we're I can't do that, only they can do that, I can't, that might elicit a response in our nervous system that's freezing. That's I'm just going to do nothing. I'm just going to shut down. I'm going to go watch YouTube videos or Netflix and just shut off because it's too uncomfortable to feel that. And I'm going to be in this shutdown space. Versus also we might have on the other side of it, kind of a fight response where it's like, okay, I see that they're doing it. I'm going to do it way better than them. And I'm going to go into this like fight, like I'm going to, get back at them or something like that. Again, we're just being aware of what might come up in us. And again, it's individual for each and every one of us. I know that I personally have had kind of more of a jealous type in me where I'm kind of constantly measuring where I'm at compared to other people and like what they're doing better than me and I need to do better than them and feeling like a feeling of jealousy. And that totally comes from my childhood and totally comes from growing up with a sister that was doing better than me in many different things and got a lot of validation for it, got a lot of attention for it, while me feeling like I was subpar to that and didn't get the validation and attention I needed for the things that I did. I got some, but there was this constant measuring myself compared to my sister that caused me then to later in life as an adult to do that same kind of mechanism, do that same ego thing of comparing myself to other people. And as a safety and protective response, because if I'm getting, or if other people are getting attention, my child self inside me, my inner child might feel like that means that there's less validation or there's less love for me in some way, right? So it is just because about becoming curious about what's going on in our own consciousness and to know where these things come from. Where is like the unhealthy aspects of my identity or my ego or comparison to others coming from? Where is it from the past? Because it usually is. And then noticing that, compassion for that, awareness around that, inner child work around that. And then so we can move into the healthy aspect of ego, where it is, okay, that person is doing something amazing, incredible, and I'm inspired to do my own thing, but seeing them do their thing gives me the possibility that it's possible for me as well. That I'm using them as a sense of expansion, a sense of they're creating the possibility for me to do something similar in my own way, whatever that might look like. It can actually be the same thing as well, but it can be in your own, like you're grounded within yourself, knowing that you don't have to be exactly like them. You can do your own thing and you're not supposed to look exactly like them, whatever, however that might look. So understanding that there are two different aspects of this, kind of more the healthy aspect of it, using comparison on social media for inspiration and expansion of our consciousness to know what's possible for us, and the unhealthy, kind of more fear-driven, unhealthy ego-driven, wounded self, where we feel like if I'm not doing as well as them, that means that I'm there's something wrong with me. I mean, this can show up in so many different ways, but like jealousy, or they're better than, or I'm better than them, and I have to like be in competition with them in order to achieve the things that I want to achieve. And there's kind of like this me versus them sense around it. Again, could be shadowy stuff that's coming from our childhood, and it's totally fine and it's human that it's there, but awareness of it so that we can work it out. And then we can come to our healthy self, because this is the thing, our healthy ego and healthy awareness around this is only going to be more sustainable for the future. If we're in wounded comparison, it's long-term, it's not going to be good, because long-term, then we're constantly going to feel like we're not good enough. We have to keep comparing ourselves in order to be motivated to do things, to go to the gym, to create the business, whatever it might be. And it's not sustainable because it's exhausting, or can be. And again, it comes from wounding, and when we're doing stuff from wounding or from fear, it just creates more wounding and fear. That's just how it works. When we're coming from a more sustainable place of motivation and inspiration, that's going to be sustainable. They're doing their thing. I see that they're doing, something that's in alignment with their soul. That means that I can do the same for me, being in alignment with my soul, my health, things I want to do and create. I can do that as well because I see that they're doing it, and I'm connected to myself. I'm not aware. I'm not, externally focusing on what they're doing. I'm connected to myself and my own truth and where I'm going with what I'm doing. And that's my motivation and inspiration, not other people. That brings me to the last part of just noticing that the only comparison that you need to have is the comparison of where you used to be. And even where you used to be, having compassion and acceptance for that is way more sustainable than doing it from a sense of shame. Meaning I'm changing, or I'm transforming, or I'm doing these health changes, or I'm going for the business, I'm doing these creative things because I felt like what I was doing before wasn't good enough, or was shameful in some way. Oftentimes that is needed in order to get us going, right? Like if we are really in an unhealthy spot, we haven't worked out in years, we haven't eaten healthy in years, and we're really feeling in our bodies, that is a healthy sense of shame that might come up, and guilt, and that can be a motivating factor in itself. Again, healthy shame and guilt that propels us towards health and things that we want to do, and versus toxic shame, where it's like this prolonged, like, I hate myself and who I used to be. And that's what keeps me moving forward and keeps motivating me moving forward, because I hate that part of myself so much. I don't think that's sustainable at all. There are a couple of people that come to mind. I think David Goggins, for one. I have my opinions about how he might have used that, like shame, as a way to propel himself forward. Anyways, different topic. Coming back to that, we have acceptance for where we were and also motivation to move forward. Maybe there's a sense of healthy shame or guilt, like I'm wasting my potential right now and I could be doing something so much more with my life. Letting that be a motivation to move forward. And then also just comparing yourself with where we were used to be. I promise you, it's so much more fun to do it that way than it is to be like, what are they doing? And how can I compare myself to that? How am I doing better than them? Or less than them? Because that's also doesn't really make sense to compare ourselves in that way, because it's like comparing apples to oranges. Like, why would I compare myself to someone that has a completely different background, completely different history, completely different genetic makeup than me? It doesn't make sense to do that. The best, most kind of viable person I can compare myself to that's going to give me the most like kind of realistic, measurable improvement over time is to where I used to be. And then again, compassion and acceptance for where I used to be, to then keep moving forward. And it becomes a fun game of improvement and self-development and expanding of our own awareness of ourselves and what we're capable of doing. So again, we live in an age where we are constantly comparing ourselves to social media, but our people on social media, let that be with a greater awareness of people be an inspiration for you versus someone that you have to compare yourself to, or that you feel less than or more than. And let them show you what's possible for you versus you kind of freezing in believing that you can't do that or whatever it might be. And also like coming back to your own frame. That's the thing. Like you're a completely individual, unique person with unique gifts that are here. You're here to expand and to actualize, not be focused on what other people are doing all the time. I'm sorry, but you're not. So I'm going to leave it at that. This is an interesting video to go into. I hope it helped on some aspects, and I'll be back for more. Have a great day.